But first, we would like to bring in our very special guest, Bobby Humphreys, former Pro Bowler of the Denver Broncos, and, of course, he is an Alabama Sports Hall of Famer, and he is the second winningest head coach in arena football history. And not only that, his son plays and is a very elite quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens.
Had a pick yesterday.
Yeah.
He's dope. He's good.
And Bobby?
All-star.
How are you, my friend?
Doing great. Happy to be on.
Well, we're glad to have you on. Listen, I know we talked a little bit about this via text and over the phone. You are a Dan Campbell fan. You like Dan Campbell?
I love Dan Campbell. I think he's always concerned about his team, not really concerned about nobody else's team, not concerned about what anybody think about him, not concerned about how anybody think about what he calls, when he calls it, what he does. He's only committed to his players, and he seemed to have his players totally committed to him. And he's very focused, seems like driven, and he plays football. I mean, I like the way he plays. I like the way he thinks. I sometimes question in my mind some of the calls he makes at certain times, but, you know, the majority of the times he makes those calls and his guys execute them, and they accomplish their goals. So I like a guy like that. Non-nonsense guy. Don't care if you like him or not. I mean, if you're concerned about him running up the score to him with darn, stop him from scoring. That's what I say. I mean, he runs a lot of trick plays. I just like everything about it. I think he's the right fit for the Lions at this particular point in time.
Bobby, as a player, you were no stranger to injuries. And what kind of a toll does it take on you mentally, especially when you're a team that's in contention for a Super Bowl and you're a big part of that? You know, you were with that Super Bowl team that took on the San Francisco 49ers. Mm-hmm. How does injuries affect you as a player? What does that do to you mentally?
It affects you extremely mentally. And not only mentally from a physical standpoint, even if you're playing through an injury, it affects you in terms of the things that you feel like you're incapable of doing because of your injury handicapping you from doing those things. You know, when we played in the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game against the Cleveland Browns, I suffered a hit in the ribs, and I had, you know, kind of like heavily bruised ribs. So I didn't practice the first week, and then I had on some type of armored rib cage that they designed and made for me. But you know, every time I hit the ground in that Super Bowl, you still felt the pain. You still had that mental block that, you know, I can't do what I normally would do if I'm totally healthy. So it's just a mental thing for sure, but it's not just mental. It's also physical. You know, you're not able to go 100%. And whenever you play in a game at the NFL level, everybody is good. So it's not like an injury at Alabama and we playing against, you know, a team like a Memphis State at the time, which is now Memphis University. You know, a game where you can kind of get by and you know, and not run as hard, don't have to put forth as much effort. But at the pro level, everybody's good. You know, so you got to come to play every Sunday.
Let me ask you something, Bobby. You were a part of that 1990 season that saw you go to the Super Bowl with the Broncos. How grueling of a process is that for you as a player? And then you also, I know we talked a little bit about this before, you had to play the Browns in the regular season. You played them in the playoffs. You played the Steelers in the regular season, played them in the playoffs. How hard is it each time to play these teams? The more and more you play them, the more and more, obviously, you get familiar with them, but especially in the playoffs. I mean, is that a grueling process also?
It's grueling and challenging. You know, it's tough to beat. It's tough to win in the NFL, for one thing. But it's also tough to beat a team 2, possibly 3 times. And in a situation that we were in, we actually split with Cleveland that year, and we actually beat them in the AFC Championship game. So it was kind of one of those games where we went on the road and they beat us there, then we beat them home, then we had to play them again, and then the same thing, you know, with Pittsburgh, we played them twice. Yeah. And it's kind of hard. It's hard to beat a team once. It's almost, you know, close to impossible to beat them twice. Yeah. But then it is almost not even heard of beating them 3 times. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you get a little bit of familiarity with them. You know, they know, and they know what you're trying to do. And we know what they're trying to do. And you kind of got some familiarity there. So it's really tough. And then, you know, the losing team is you know, it's kind of going in the game with, hey, man, we got nothing to lose. We're going to throw everything at them. We done lost twice. So they got a little bit more of a chip on their shoulders than a team that has beat them already. So, yeah, that is very challenging. And then when you're talking about getting to the postseason, you know, the postseason is basically it's everybody starting all over again from day one. Right. It's you know, as well as you was. I know you noticed. I noticed you said coming in on the show that this first time in history the Detroit Lions has won 13 games. That's quite an accomplishment. But you know, at the end of the regular season, nobody gonna really think about how many games they won in the regular season. Exactly. It's time for a whole new season. They're gonna be coming at you a whole different way when it comes to the playoffs.
Yep. Agreed.
Do you have any questions for us?
Oh, yeah. I got a quick question for you, Bobby. So a few years ago, actually, they were, you know, folks were talking analytics and do away with the running back and, you know, pass. How important, I think it's very important. How important do you think establishing the running game in today's game is?
I think establishing the running games takes pressure off the entire offense. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big analytical guy. Right. I believe if you end every series with a kick, you got a good shot of winning the ball game. Okay. I mean, and I know a lot of people said, well, analytics say this is the time for you to go for it on 4th down. You know, I believe in taking the points when you can. And I think when you need to go for it on 4th down, when you need to go for it for a 2-point conversion, the game will present itself where you have no chance and no option but to do that. Now, that's me. Wow. Okay. That's me as a coach. Now, everybody don't coach that way now because you go in this analytical thing and, you know, the thing about analytics, it don't involve the wind, the temperature, the rain. You can't factor all those in when you're thinking about analytics. But I think a strong running games defeat any analytical process that you're thinking about. Because you notice when, you know, I'm a Ravens fan. My son played for the Baltimore Ravens. When you get Derrick Henry going, but it's when you get Gibbs going there with the Detroit line, Goff can do whatever he want to do. Yep. When you get that running game going, and that coach can call whatever he want to call when it's hard to stop the run. So I believe in establishing a run. I think if you got a solid running game, you got a chance of going a lot further than you do if you don't have a good running game. So I don't believe in – now I know they have devalued the running back. Now back in my days, the running backs were very valuable.
Yes.
We were very valuable.
Yes.
But now they have kind of devalued them. But I think now people are realizing that when you got a Gibbs, when you got a Barkley, when you got a Derrick Henry, when you got those guys toting the rock for you, you can be a little bit more. You can be a little bit more. You can open up the playbook a little wider and do some things that you normally wouldn't do if those guys weren't back there toting the mail for you.
Right. Okay.
Let me ask you a question real quick. You actually played with John Elway. What do you think of Jared Goff? Do you think he's getting into that John Elway category? I know he's looking at me crazy, but what do you think of Jared Goff?
What did I just miss here?
Well, it took John Elway a minute to win a couple Super Bowls. So, what do you think, Bob? Do you think Goff is headed in that direction?
Well, you know what? I've always been a big time Jared Goff fan.
Oh, okay.
And I even became a bigger fan of his when I thought he kind of like got kicked out in the cold by the Rams. Mm-hmm. I thought that was I didn't like that because I thought he did a great job out there. But obviously, all things work in mysterious ways, and he is loving where he's at now. The fans love him. He's tearing it up. I mean, the Coach Campbell kind of just loves him, and the team. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing how things work out. And I've always been a fan of him since when he first came to the league. I think he's going to be a really, really good quarterback to get to the John Elway, and I also played with Dan Marino to get to that level. I think he's getting there, but he's not there. Obviously, winning some playoff games, getting to the championship game, and winning a Super Bowl here and there, I think that helps get him there a lot quicker. But I think he has the potential to be as great as he want to be, especially with the weapons you have. Yeah. You got to realize those guys back then, it's a new age now, but those guys back then kept a core group of players together.
Yes.
It wasn't as much trading and much, you think about the Terry Bradshaw. He had Lynn Swann and Starward for a number of years. You take, Joe Montana. Joe Montana had Jerry Rice and those guys for a number of years. Mm-hmm. So you get a chance to kind of keep those guys in pocket, and those guys will make a quarterback. They can make things go, and when they're playing for you. But nowadays, salary cap and trades and all that there is happening. Our team, a good receiver could bounce around 2 or 3 teams.
Yep.
But I think he's on the path.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this: you were a head coach in the AF and the Marina Football League, second winningest head coach, as we looked up those stats. Mm-hmm. As a coach, what do you do when you are faced with the numerous amount of players that are on the IR, like the Detroit Lions? How does that affect your game plan going in and out of each week when you just basically don't know who's going to go down next?
I don't think I've ever been in a situation that I think the Detroit Lions were in, as well as we played Pittsburgh yesterday, and they were down Pickens. Mm-hmm. Had 3 guys in the secondary that was out, and then Porter got hurt in the game. Yeah. It's a lot easier to it's a lot manageable to know it going in, but it don't help when you get in the ball game and then you have some injuries to pile on. Yeah. This time of the year is very different. I was shocked the Lions was able to dominate the game the way they dominated it today. That just speak volumes of really the organization, their scouting department, knowing that their tools can step in and they got a good practice squad, good group of guys on practice squad that they can elevate up. And most importantly, those coaches can build confidence. Yeah. But then those guys to go out and be able to perform and execute. That's got a lot to do with coaching. It's frustrating for a coach, but a coach's job is just get every guy ready. and hope he's performed. And obviously, with those guys performing the way they perform today, Dan Cameron and his staff has done a really good job in preparation and preparing for those guys. You want your ones and your guys out there, but if you can have some guys to step in until you can get those guys healthy before they make their last run through the playoffs, that just makes it great. But it's very difficult. But you got to have a staff to be able to get guys ready, and I think those guys are really ready today. And you take this is the time of the year where injuries pile up, and them being able to get some of the backups in and get some guys in place. Now they got the confidence that if somebody was to go down now, they won't be as they don't have to they won't have to miss all that sleep at night. They can get a little bit.
I got one more question for you.
Go ahead.
I got one more question for you, Bobby. You were, I think you were All-American 86, 87, right? Alabama. What do you think now about the transfer portal in college? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh man, I'm kind of two-way forward with the transfer portal. I think the transfer portal was designed to be able to allow players the opportunity to be able to change teams or change their situation based on other situations that occur. And those situations were more meaningful. Mm-hmm. Transfer portal now has turned into a young man that may be playing behind a junior or a sophomore that started and played the last 2 years, and that particular kid don't get any playing time because he's behind somebody that's been there 2 years and that's a solid player. Mm-hmm. And they jump in the portal because they're upset or whatever. It's a variety of reasons. But the way the transfer portal worked with somebody like a Jalen Hurst is the way I think when they had it, when they initially came out with it, that it was the purpose of it. The purpose of the transfer portal was that if a coach who recruited you, and he likes you and he likes your skills, mm-hmm. and he recruited you, but he decides to go take another job, then that gives that kid an opportunity to leave because you don't know what the new coach coming in may want to do. So it was supposed to be a benefit for a young man whose circumstances change. Mm-hmm. But now it's not that. You got kids now making bad decisions. Kids get in the portal without even not getting advice from their parents. Parents don't even know they're in the portal. They get upset with the coach, and just a variety of reasons. Yeah. If they friend decide to leave, and they won't leave. It's just reasons that I think athletes don't factor in. So I still think it's something that works. I think they need to tweak it a little bit. I don't think a kid needs to transfer from school to school to school because you got to realize everybody's not going to the NFL and everybody's not playing professionals. So at least you can get an education in the process. And when all this transferring takes place, then the kid get lost in the shuffle where he stands in terms of this education. And you got kids sitting in the transfer portal now that are there, and now they don't even have a scholarship. Wow. And they can't go to no school because nobody got them out of the portal. So I think something that was meant for good has been used in a way that is not so good for all those young men. Okay. Yeah.
Well, listen,
so I don't know if that answered your question or not, but that's kind of
absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, you played for the great Bear Bryant there in Alabama, and of course the Detroit Lions are filled with Alabama players. Are you pretty proud of what these guys have accomplished so far in their young careers?
I am. And just a correction there, I actually miss Coach Bryant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was with, if you know the coaching, the coaching hires that came out the Browns was Ray Perkins. You guys remember Ray Perkins, Coach Perkins?
Yes.
He's with the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Left the Giants, came to Bama. He went back to the NFL and coached with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Okay. But he was there my first 2 years at Alabama.
Okay.
And then Curry came in, and I played for Curry, and all these guys are retired. But y'all should be, you guys are football guru. Y'all should know be familiar with these names.
Mm-hmm.
Ray Perkins, and I played for Curry for 2 years, and then after Curry was Gene Stallings. Gene Stallings actually won a national championship.
Yep.
In '92, and then they you went through some Mike Price, a few coaches. Then you got all the way through a few coaches. Then you got to say Mike Schuler, Mike Price, Coach Franchione, who came and left Alabama, went to Texas A&M. But no, I was with Perkins and Curry. I split time 2 and 2 with both of them. So, but your question was, I gave you all that history. Now I forgot what the actual question was.
Oh, it was. Are you pretty proud of the bunch of Lions that they have done so far in the young career? Terrion Arnold, Branch, Jamison, Gibbs.
Those guys are really making Alabama fans and former players proud. They are doing extremely well. Terrion Arnold was a kid that I watched and really loved. For an offensive guy and an offense coordinator and a running back, I tend to watch defense more now than I do offense. Mm-hmm. might have a little bit to do with Marlon Humphrey.
Right.
So do you have any end of the
Pro
season?
Bowler, by the way.
Do you have any end of season predictions? Are you predicting you think the Ravens are going to go to the Super Bowl? I know you got Marlon there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We're going to play the Detroit Lions.
Okay. and I think I know what your prediction is in the Michigan-Alabama bowl game coming up.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Down by 14.
Well, Bobby, thanks for coming on with us today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Loved all the insight that you've given us into head coaching and as a player. Anything you want to promote while we have you on?
No, man, I don't have anything, man. I just enjoy talking about sports and football, man. I appreciate you guys for having me on, man. I know this is a Detroit-based show, but I love the Detroit Lions. I love the way they play. So I guess I went to say I'm a closet Detroit fan because I'm not in, the Ravens are not in the NFC. We're in the AFC. So
correct.
I'm out of the closet Detroit Lions fan, I guess.
Bobby, thanks so much. I hope maybe we can get you back on later in the season when we get into the playoffs. Maybe when they hopefully take on the Ravens in the Super Bowl.
That sounds great.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Thanks a lot,
really
Bobby.
appreciate
Thank
you.
you, guys. Merry Christmas to you all.
Merry Christmas to you.